Hi, welcome to the Ellis Talker Show. I'm DV LeBron. Do you have construction needs? Maybe you want to redo your kitchen, or maybe you just have to get your roof fixed. Check out K&H Construction. They're out of Waxahachie. Mr. Helms, he's a local guy, grew up here. Let him know DV LeBron sent you. So today, my very special guest is a sister in arms, a podcaster, a business, started businesses, been through a life-threatening diagnosis. Miss Mary McCorvey, how are you, ma'am?
I'm doing great, DV. Thanks so much for having me on. I'm delighted to be here.
Thank you, ma'am. I sat there and I saw your story and I said, I would be honored to have someone like you on because I love stories of people who have been through stuff and came out the other side, because there's always somebody in the tunnel, Mary, and you understand that. There's
I
always
do.
somebody in the
Yeah.
tunnel. And hearing from somebody who's out of the tunnel, that could be the difference between life and death. So I am so grateful you came on. I wanted to go ahead and have you introduce yourself to my audience.
Gosh, where to start? Where you and I were talking before we came on about there's a whole lot of there.
Man,
What I would like to say is that I'm very honored to be a an Army veteran. I was active duty for 6 years, and I was a civilian executive with the Army for another 7 years. And my last service was in Desert Storm in the Gulf. And that was the thing that formulated my life and that gave me the things that I value most: integrity and leadership and honesty, and the things that perseverance.
yeah.
If it weren't, I went into the Army when I was 18 years old. And so by virtue of that, I traveled the world. And I know when you go in the Army, and I did go to a combat zone, when you can expect that there's going to be wars, but generally speaking, it's a very safe environment. They put a lot of effort into safety.
Mhm.
And so it was a great place for a young person to go. And I thoroughly recommend it to young people today. There's a lot of different ways to serve in the military. And if you want to, there's a way for you.
That
So,
you served at a time when there may not have been as many women, and women have been serving since the beginning of our country and beyond. And they were in the Revolutionary War. Women have been serving, but maybe not as many. Maybe you still had some Vietnam era folks in there. There was a little bit of differences when you were serving and the time you serving, but you still went out there. And there is something to be said about the resilience you get from the resilience and the just gung ho, the keep going from the military. And I'm sure that helped you in the many things that you have been through in life. So talk to me, where did you grow up and what led you to the Army?
I grew up in Sarasota, Florida. And Sarasota, Florida is a beautiful town. And it's a city now, but it's very wealthy. It's full of wealthy people. So everything about it is beautiful. And I grew up in a very difficult home. It was, we were poverty stricken, we were hardship stricken, and it was just a difficult way to grow up in a town that was, you're surrounded by wealthy people. There's an automatic, I say in my book, I felt like when I was growing up that I was walking around with a deck of cards that said charity case on it. And it was very difficult for me to put that down for a long time.
Wow.
And so I got married when I was 16 years old.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's
I married my high school sweetheart. Bless his soul. He's a great guy. And he had joined the Army right at the end of the Vietnam War. And he comes home one day and he said, I've got orders to go to Korea. And I said, I should join the Army and go with you.
Wow.
But he thought that was a pretty good idea. So that's what I ended up doing. And the military offered me such incredible structure and opportunity. And regrettably, the marriage didn't last, but our friendship has lasted to today.
Wow. And that life throws these different curveballs, and then being in the military together, the Army does not promise you where you're going to go, and you don't get a choice in that matter. You end up going to different places, and that could be very strenuous on a young marriage, on any marriage, because you see that just about at any level. So you joined the Army. Did they send you to Korea, or they sent you somewhere else?
No, they did send me to Korea.
They ended up sending you to
Yeah,
Korea.
they sent me to Korea, and we served there together for a little while. And then it became clear we were teenagers, DV. We were teenagers. We loved each other very much, as two kids can,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But the military also has a way of making you grow up pretty quickly.
Absolutely.
And so we both really respected each other and still do today. But our paths went in different directions.
What did you do after you got that blessed little DD-214?
Oh my gosh. You know what? So like I say, I served for 6 years. And I served with the Armed Forces Radio and Television Network.
Oh, okay.
Oh, what a great, great opportunity for me that truly affected my entire professional life and continues to affect it today. I'm doing a podcast, and so in the same way, I'm still broadcasting.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. I said, Mary, you didn't tell me about the Armed Forces Radio Network. It makes sense now. It makes sense.
Yeah.
But you took it to a different level. You've produced plays. There's just so many things that you've done. You even authored books, and we're going to talk about that book a little bit later. But you got out of the military after this wonderful experience, and did it go for you like it has a lot of veterans in every single post-war era?
You're asking me if it went for me that way?
Yeah, if it went for you that way, how was it afterwards, and where'd you get it? What you get into afterwards?
I would like to talk with you about military transition, because I spend a lot of time helping military people who are transitioning from the military to civilian life, and I help a lot of veterans. So we can pop back to that. So after I left the military, I became a civilian executive with the Army, and I was the head of public and congressional affairs for, are you ready for this? The Toxic and Hazardous Materials Agency.
Oh, yeah. When we were never exposed to any of that.
So. Oh, no, never, never. Yeah. Oh, God. But I did that for 7 years, and it was very gratifying work. It was wonderful. It was a time when we were telling the stories about what had happened at military bases that had left the environment contaminated and had affected people off base as well as people on base, and what the military was going to do about it. So I had the chance to really face some really harsh critics. I represented the Army, and we were the ones that were the bad guys who had done the bad things. But I also happened to be in a position where I really believed that the time had come for truth. And it's time. My job was helping commanders of these bases tell the truth to the media, the elected officials, and the citizens. So that was fun. And then I did that for 7 years, and then I went to the Gulf War.
Wow. Yeah.
Hmm.
That I I think about that, and that's like that Camp Lejeune thing, where the drinking water in Camp Lejeune, or even
Yes,
one of the most recent ones were those earplugs they gave us in Iraq that didn't. They ended up not working, and there was a lawsuit. Those 3M hearing protection or whatever. There was a big one on that, and there's been several others. But it took the military, even the malaria shots that they gave us,
hmm
and they were that there were studies that came out that it it was mimicking PTSD, that it was damaging the brain, and DOD admitted that. But those are things that weren't admitted when my dad came back from Vietnam. That was a whole
no, they were
different thing.
not. They were
And
not.
then around your time is when they were starting to say, okay, maybe there was a problem. And they started to do that to Gulf War vets because they were exposed to a lot of things in the sand. There was stuff in the sand. Saddam had nuked, or not nuked, but he had gassed that place several times.
I
And
got
you guys were sitting there in the sand. Just
I got the sarin gas.
yeah.
I
And
got the not from Saddam Hussein. It actually, and I would like to say that my experience after the Gulf War with the military was that it absolutely did not recognize that we had a syndrome. At first, it was called the Gulf War syndrome
right.
because we all were experiencing similar circumstances and symptoms. And this went on, DV, for, I mean, it was not until 2 years ago,
Yes.
that they finally said, okay, we have linked the Gulf War illness, they now call it, to
Mhm.
sarin nerve gas exposure.
Yeah.
So for all of these years, it's no, we didn't do anything. No, you did. For a long time, before I deployed to go to Kuwait, I got 11 inoculations, just like you did. You stand there and
And
you
they just
go, chip,
yeah.
chup, 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 chup.
Yeah.
And we did it gladly
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
because like I was mentioning before, we trust the military to take care of us. And I'm not down and on the military. I'm just saying that my experience was that I got an anthrax
Me too.
vaccination that you got too. You
Mm-hmm.
probably got a couple of generations after me,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, by the time I came back, and I was just completely wasted for I was completely wasted for 4 years, and then repeatedly until today.
They gave me the anthrax shot in about 96 or 97 is when they gave me the anthrax shot. I at first, because I had heard that there were some issues with that shot. So I
Yeah.
asked, hey chief, what if I don't take it? Well, NJPU and or we'll go ahead and send your mask and then eventually proceed to kick you out. I said, okay, where do I get my shot? Because I the Navy
Yeah.
the Navy was a lifesaver for me. I was in gangs and I wasn't doing well. So this was my opportunity and I wasn't willing to crush it. I'll just take this jab. And I did take the anthrax, and I believe that there was things that came out of that. It was not something that I ever filed for, but I do believe that things get out. But you got exposed to these things. You got exposed to sarin gas. You got exposed to all these different things that were in that dirt that you guys were breathing and had all over you.
Oh, yeah, and we had the oil fires as well.
The fires
Yeah.
were burning. Now they have the burn pits for my generation. You guys were sitting there with oil wells all on fire, and that doesn't have any effect. Burning oil doesn't do any.
No.
And right, so you were exposed to that, and you said you dealt with, like you said, you were wasted for so many years. What ended up happening with your health?
What happened with my health is that I just dealt with it for all these years. And my family dealt with it for all these years. It was, what happened to me was a joy and a tragedy, because I met the love of my life, or at least he was at the time, 2 weeks before I deployed to go to Kuwait.
Yeah.
And he was a naval aviator.
Oh.
And yeah, Navy guy.
You had,
Navy guy.
it wasn't Top Gun yet, but maybe Officer and a Gentleman.
There you go.
Yep.
There you go. When I came back, we got married, but when I went over there, I was very healthy. My career was at the top of my game. I was a very fine and vibrant human being. And that's who he fell in love with. And that's who I knew myself to be. And then when I came back, I started experiencing all of these symptoms. This is after we got married, because we got married just within months after I got back.
Yeah.
And it went on for years. And it had a very significant effect on our marriage, to say the least.
Nobody comes back from war the same. I know that the person that I was when I left and the person I came back as were definitely not the same. But then being exposed to different chemicals, being exposed to all those different things, that's on top of the stuff that you're dealing with up here. Your body starts falling apart, and you're still young. And wondering why your body is falling apart.
There's no answers.
No,
there's no answers.
No, and you've been exposed to stuff, and nobody's talking to you. But when you finally realize, look, there is stuff happening, and I really believe this was from my military service. How did you go about getting help, or did you go about getting help?
I'll tell you, in the mid-90s, I had excuse me, just one second. I had a real reckoning, because my experience with the military was so positive in so many ways. And in the mid-90s, that's when the anthrax news started coming out.
Yes.
That we had received the vaccination that would not be approved by the FDA. Yeah. And so essentially we were guinea pigs. Mm-hmm. That's not like the militaries have never done that before. Yeah. It's historical that it's done it before. Mm-hmm. But when it happens to you,
it's different.
It is. And you trust it. You trust them to feel safe. You're going into a hostile environment, and you trust them to be looking out for you. And I felt the strongest sense of betrayal that I would not feel for many years. But it was definitely a disillusionment with everything that I believed and the ideals that I believed about the military. And it was extremely difficult trauma to get past. And it took therapy, and nobody will hear me say something bad about the military and what my experience was, mm-hmm. because it framed my life, and it's still very much a part of my life. But there were times when it was really dark.
Do you believe they failed you, Mary?
I believe that so I mentioned to you that I worked with an agency called the Toxic and Hazardous Materials Agency, right? Man. So I had an inside look at the way that the military conducts science and biology and so forth. And I'm not saying that there are madmen in the laboratory kind of thing. I'm not suggesting that, but I'm saying that there are systematic things that should be required that are not required.
Right.
And with that regard, I think that the military did fail the military members. And there should be, if you're going to inject human beings that you are expecting to then go and perform at peak level and to put themselves into harm's way,
Right.
and perhaps lose their lives, or perhaps not, but come back tragically changed forever, right? There needs to be a more sophisticated process in order to get to the point. Sometimes war happens really slowly. Everybody says, oh, this is happening really fast. It happens very slowly. And you can use things that are proven.
Mm-hmm.
And that, in that particular case, the military failed its military members.
Methods in general, and different checks and balances when you're doing research. Those things would help the military greatly. If they aren't already doing it now at this current moment. There was a lot of things, like you were talking about the anthrax shot. When you said it came out, the FDA said they wouldn't approve it. I think that's around the time they were trying to put it. And I saw the story, and they're trying to give it to me. And
that's exactly right. Now you were in that position.
Yeah, they were like, "Oh, the FDA is not going to approve it. Oh, okay, we're going to go ahead and give it to you." So it was a very daunting time. But you used the word betrayal, and that's a very tough word. There's a lot of veterans throughout the generations that have felt that word. How did that affect you?
It took years to get over it. And, what I have found is that when people get out of the military, they go through, and maybe, I know you went through it. I know you went through it. It's a transition that requires a lot of attention, and it's a transition process that, even without the difficulties that you and I are talking about, it's already challenging. And for me, I've seen veterans who won't even say that they've been in the military because they don't want people to know, and they don't want to deal with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, getting over the betrayal definitely took therapy, and it took years for me to get to the point where I would say, okay, yeah, I was in the Army. I was in the Gulf War. For a long time, I wouldn't even talk about it because I was just so disillusioned. What turned me around, DV?
What turned you around?
What turned me around was in 2012. I started noticing something that really distressed me and disturbed me. And what I noticed was that post 9/11 veterans who were coming back were being portrayed in the media as homicidal, as rage-filled, as homeless, unemployable, PTSD stricken, all of those things. It was just like this cloud over everyone.
Yeah.
And there was a big media push at that time to portray veterans in that light, because a lot of money was being raised to help veterans who really needed it. We don't need to go into that story.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Well, I got really ticked off, DV. I said, this is not right. This is not right. The veterans that I know, and my own experience, even as difficult as it was at some times, we don't need to be characterizing our veterans of this war, this generation, in this way. And
Right.
so I dedicated myself to changing that national narrative. And
Right.
the way that I did it was that I had my own media campaign. I developed my own television series that was on CBS Sports.
Wow.
I developed my own ways of publishing articles and being in the media and talking about veterans who are successful. You know, people who have come back from post 9/11 wars, and they've gone on to be like yourself. They're in the community. They have families. They have jobs,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
I
They're
mean,
working.
at the worst of it, and I'll tell you honestly, when I got back, the last thing I wanted to do was ever hurt anybody again.
Oh, yeah.
I have set myself to never ever wanting to harm another soul again. I don't ever want to. I was never homicidal.
No.
I did not like my life very much, and I went through that
Hmm.
in the darkness, but
Hmm.
never hurting anybody else. I never wanted to hurt another soul again. But I do remember those portrayals like that. How did you get this media attention? How did you try to shift? Well, it sounds like you were successful at least at trying to shift the narrative that was going on, but how did that end up going about, and did you get support on it?
I did get support, yes. And the way I used my background in the media and in broadcasting to create success stories. And I spoke in front of groups. I got very involved with the veteran community at the national level. And I was also very involved with the ability of corporations to hire veterans. So the thing that I saw in 2012 and going through probably till 2018, I felt really good at 2018. I felt good that the narrative had shifted, not only because of my work, but because of a number of things that had happened, but most of which is a recognition that veterans are value. And it just has taken a long time for that that narrative to change. But
We
it
are
I
really, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, but I feel very good today about the work that the country did to support the post 9/11 veterans. And
Absolutely.
yeah, and I
Absolutely.
really do. And oh, by the way, just because somebody is in the community, has the family, has the job, all of that, that doesn't mean that they don't suffer. It
Right.
doesn't mean that they don't have traumatic experiences that they hearken back to or that they continue to deal with. Or like me, continue to have health issues related to the service.
I managed to maintain a law enforcement career. In the worst of my, the tunnel is what I call it. In the deepest, darkest parts of that time, I still managed to do my job and do it professionally, even though I was broken. I was
Mhm.
in pieces
Mhm.
inside. I still managed. And there's a lot of us that go out there and we do it every day. I have been so fortunate now that life has completely turned around. But like I say in every show, especially when I'm addressing veterans, is don't give up. Don't give up.
Mm-mm.
Don't
Don't
stop.
give up.
Don't give up. Don't stop. Find what works. For me, it was Jesus. For me, God is the one who healed me 8 years ago, and he changed my life, and I will never turn away from God. But that might not be for you. I don't care, brothers and sisters. Don't give up. Don't
Don't give
give up.
up.
I don't care what you find, whether it be badminton or Jesus. I don't care. Just keep
Mhm.
living. But that said, you ended up dealing with health problems, and one of the things that you dealt with, it almost killed you, and you survived that. Talk to me about that battle.
I found out a couple of years ago, it's been about 3 years now, that I have pulmonary fibrosis. And pulmonary fibrosis was undoubtedly caused by the sarin gas exposure.
Yes, ma'am.
And it has progressed over time. And now that it's been diagnosed as what it is, it has a life expectancy of 2 to 5 years. And so I found that out and I went, that stinks.
Yeah, it does suck, doesn't it? There's like better news you could give me. Yeah,
Like, well, I knew I wasn't breathing too well, but
yeah,
there is treatment that I'm going through to help with that. It took a while. The way that I dealt with that is that I also turn to God, and I find that my spirituality is so incredibly important in the way that I live my life and the choices that I make and decisions that I make. And so that has helped me a great deal. I also just got my stuff in. I just remember all the times that in the military, they used to say, you better have your will filled out. You better have this, that, or the other.
Yeah.
I got my stuff in a sock now, buddy. I'll probably get run over by a bus before I die from,
Yeah.
But if I do, I'm good to go.
Yeah.
And there, with that whole process, it comes with a sense of freedom.
Right.
You face, okay, this is going to happen. There's no cure for it. There's treatment for it, but it's going to happen, and your time is your time.
Right.
And it doesn't have to wait for that. It can be something else some other time.
I'll tell you what, that sickness messed with the wrong soldier. I truly believe that, because I think that if it's met its match, I know you're going to go ahead and keep on, and I hope you do. I pray you do. I want you to keep going, because like a lot of vets that came out, you went ahead and started trying to make the world better. Even when you were going through the work, even when you felt betrayed, even when you were going through your things of health, you still decided you wanted to help. I don't want you to go anywhere. We need you as a community. So.
Well, thank you very much, DV. I do want to say that I am a part of the Veterans Administration system, and I encourage. The Veterans Administration has not a very good reputation,
right?
Admittedly, but I encourage veterans to get into the system, because there are benefits there that you deserve, you earn them.
Yeah.
And it may not be the right place for healthcare, but I've gotten some great healthcare there. Here in Philadelphia, I'm in Philadelphia. I have nothing but good things to say about the VA here.
Yeah.
And wherever you are, whoever you are, if you're not a veteran, please do put someone on your healthcare team that specializes in mental health.
Yeah.
It's kind of like if you got something wrong with your kidney, you go to a specialist.
You go to a kidney. That's right.
That's right. Having that person on your team is really important.
Tell me, because you went and you started a podcast by the same name as the book that you wrote, Experience Over Expectation. Can you tell me about the book?
Sure, I'd be glad to. Thank you. Experience Over Expectation is a book that I wrote and a podcast that I have, because I started writing a memoir, and I started with my story in the military. And what I learned in the process, DV, was that it was very gratifying to go back and writing is a passion of mine, to write about stories that I thought might be of interest and help other people. So my version of success is if I can impact people in a positive way and help them see themselves in a new light, that I'm delighted to do that. So experience over expectation took a bit of a different turn for me because, like I say, I started out writing a memoir. And what happened was, are you involved with artificial intelligence at all?
Just for what I use on editing the podcast, and what I dabble with on ChatGPT and some other things.
There you go. There you go. But you're in it.
Yeah.
You're in it. And we're actually all in it.
It's a brave new world.
It sure is.
Yeah.
And like I learned, you don't go to Google anymore. You go to ChatGPT.
Right.
So I kept going there for referencing and looking for resources and things like that. And I started thinking, DV, I thought, wow, I wonder what would happen if I put my story into ChatGPT and had it analyze my story.
What?
And yeah. So I did it. And I thought, what you have to do, of course, is you have to give artificial intelligence prompts, right? You prompt it to do what you need it to do. As it turned out, what happened was that I worked with 5 different platforms, not just ChatGPT 5, but 4 other ones as well.
Right.
And the book is my story and AI's analysis of my story. And the synthesis of that analysis is, okay, here's my story. Here's what I did. Now you analyze the situation, analyze my choices, and analyze my decisions and tell me what the result is. And it did.
Wow.
And that's what this book is about. That's what this book does. And so if you think about it, what happened was that with that prompt of the situation, choices, and decision, that it went out then and it compared my case against thousands and thousands of other cases like mine in a literature review. And it comes back with this analysis.
Wow.
And I got to tell you, I made some boneheaded decisions, right? I think we all have.
Yeah.
Right? And I thought, man, I'm going to get slaughtered in this.
Yeah.
I'm going to get, but you know what I found out? Number one, I found out that I'm not alone. That my life is not as unusual as I thought maybe it was. Thank goodness. Right. There are a lot of people out there that have a lot in common with me, or I have a lot in common with them. And the decisions that I made, some of them could have used some scrutiny.
Yes.
No doubt about it. But then there are others that I thought, wow, okay, that wasn't such a bad decision.
Right.
So this book tells my story, analyzes my story, and then gives practical tools for the reader to be able to look at their own lives and see their own decisions and choices.
Wow. Like I would have never even thought about that. And imagine if I put if I did a memoir and I put it on there, I would be, man, I think it would laugh at me at first. And then,
that's what I thought too. That's what I thought too.
What a bonehead, man. What a bonehead. And I think that would be the first response, and then it would analyze everything. But that is just crazy that you ended up doing that. How could they get that book? Is it at your website, or do you have it on Amazon? What's the best way from my viewers to look at it?
Thank you for asking. It's out September 23rd,
Okay.
and you can join the wait list on my website. It's going to be wherever you get your books. It's going to be on Amazon. It'll be on Kindle. It'll be on audiobooks. And I really appreciate the opportunity to talk with you about it. And I hope that your viewers might find some interest in it and some insight.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure they were, and I can't wait to. I'm gonna go and because I really want to see what AI had to say about it, Mary. That I got to see that result. So like it starts with train wreck, and then I just got
so true.
I just got to see this. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you so much for helping our brothers, sisters in arms, and most of all, survive, young lady. Survive.
Thank you.
You help the world become a better place. Don't give up on us anytime soon, and beat this thing.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that, TV.
Can you hang on after the show real quick?
Sure, of course.